We usually close with this, but it's time to start with this. Let's just jump right into the latest county Christmas tree. It's going up. It's already up pretty much, and it's going to be the tallest to date and the tallest structure on the square, right?
Well, it's getting there. It is 40 feet, but when we add the star, it will be at 42 feet. So yes, this is the tallest Christmas tree we've ever had. Now, knowing that Rockefeller Center is at about 75 feet, you know the distance that we have to go. So we're slowly inching in that direction, but it looks beautiful. It will be lit permanently the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, because we're not going to be able to have the usual Christmas gathering on the plaza. So Carrie Jones, members of council, city officials, and Met officials will all be there, and we will be waving. It will be lit the Tuesday before Thanksgiving at 6 o'clock. And from then it will shine until Christmas and after. And encourage everybody to come by and take a look at it, because it is the Anderson County Christmas tree for everybody in Anderson County. And we started lighting it up the Thanksgiving holiday for people who come in just for Thanksgiving to see their families. But this year we're just going to let it rock. I think we could all use a whole lot more Christmas in our lives this year than maybe we have in the past.
There's not going to be an event though, it's just going to light up.
It's not going to be an event. It will be filmed. You'll be able to watch it on Anderson County television, but we just don't want to get the crowds together, and especially with the numbers increasing.
Total expense, one of the reasons the county bought this tree was to save money. And it looks like the total expenses for the tree to date are about $47,500. I talked to Rita. The same price for the live trees they were bringing in and out, and the setup would have been about $68,000. So the tree's paid for itself.
Well, the tree pays for itself, but it's a beautiful tree. And we can add to it as long as we keep fertilizing it. And I mean, we are having people now taking pictures in front of the Christmas tree with it not being lit. And so it's a beacon of hope for everybody in Anderson County, and we're hoping everybody will enjoy it and everybody will come take a look at it. And this will also give you more time to come have your Christmas cards taken in front of the tree so you can send around the United States and beyond.
And it's going to continue to grow somewhere between 2 and 4 feet a year?
Depending on how the fertilizer works, it will, yes.
So 4 feet a year, it's going to be a little bit before we catch Rockefeller. 2 feet.
It's 75 feet, yeah. And we're at 42 feet, so we got just a little ways to go. Right. But we're steadily getting there.
Now, when is Santa Claus going to go in your window? That's usually the traditional lighting of your Santa Claus.
Santa Claus goes in the window that Tuesday night. When the tree's lit, Santa Claus is lit. He will be in the window like he is every year and waving and saying hello to everybody.
A couple other big things that sort of marked the month of November. The ground was broken for the shores of Asbury, and a huge turnout for that. How did the county help them, and how is this going to benefit our area?
Well, you know that the Corps of Engineers has been steadily closing parks, steadily closing Corps of Engineer parks. So Asbury's been closed for some time. Well, let's put it this way, it was open but not managed and not maintained and just kind of left there.
That's the worst of all.
That's the worst of all. And it had become a gathering place for, according to people in that area, less desirables. So we started looking about what we could do about that, and we've had some interest in the past. So because it belongs to the Corps of Engineers, we requested from the Corps that we sublease that land. And when we sublease that land, just like we do Green Pond, then in this case we turned around and leased it to a private company, and the private company is going to pay for everything there. We will have no cost in it, but we will receive revenue from the operation. So we're very excited. You're exactly right. There were a ton of people there. Local residents who were happy it was going to be watched and improved and maintained 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you had a lot of people, and I've got an email right in front of me right now, that it's going to have a floating water park. It's going to have handicapped accessible tree houses. It's going to have yurts like you find in Tibet. It's going to have RV camping. It's going to have a restaurant, probably start off with a food truck to begin with. And it's going to have swimming areas and floating tents so you can float around the water park. And they've already ordered the water park. That'll be next summer. And they're looking to open in April. And I think it is going to be just a big, big success in Anderson County. These people already operate one in Tennessee, so this is not the first one that they've done. And at the groundbreaking, they pointed out the local contractors who were here. And the person who is going to be the manager and owner is a native of Anderson County. She's been living in Nashville for the last 30 years, so she's coming home, and this is what she's going to do. There's going to be somebody at that park 7 days a week, 7 nights a week. So we're excited about that. Plus, we're also working to get Weldon Campground back open and a couple of more from the same arrangement, us leasing it from the Corps and us subleasing it to operators.
And there will be a sort of a synthesis between Green Pond and the shores of Asbury. They'll sort of feed off each other.
If you look at Green Pond across the water, you see Asbury. Asbury, you see Green Pond. So you're going to have a synergy working there. And you're also, if you go down to all of the work that the Boggs brothers are doing at Big Water Marina, and they're doing a tremendous amount of work and have plans. It's a resort now, but they have plans to make it even a mega resort. So those will be 3 big things on Lake Hartwell, and we've always been blessed to have Portman Shoals and Clemson Marina. So there are going to be more things to do. And what I like about the things that the county's doing, any citizen can go out to Green Pond anytime they want to. They don't have to fish. They can just go out there and hang around, sit on the high hill and look at the water. But not everybody has access to Lake Hartwell. We want to make sure everybody in Anderson County who lives here, pays taxes, has places that they can go and enjoy Lake Hartwell, not just people who live on the lake.
And this has been a priority of council for the last decade.
It's been a council priority to, number one priority for county council has always been job creation, improve the standard of living in Anderson County, which we've increased the wage by $7 during that time. Still got ways to go, but with those we're got coming in, we're going to easily do that. And the other thing is to maximize Lake Hartwell as a resource, not just for people visiting, but the better Lake Hartwell does, everybody in Anderson County does good. Those people who come out there, the only thing that's been really steady keeping our hotels alive besides business travel, I mean, we just got through with over 2 weeks of fishing tournaments. Somebody on that lake fishing in a tournament or practicing for the tournament. And those people are not from here. The last tournament we had, the guy I think was from Missouri who won it. Now, he had to stay somewhere, he had to eat, he had to do all this. He won $100,000 out there fishing. So we had that tournament. The week before we had 300 people out there fishing. And a lot of times when we say we have 300 boats, sometimes there are 2 people in that boat. So,
you know, bring their families.
And they bring their families and the support staff and the gear and the setup, because all of this stuff is streamed all over the world. All over the world. And we've got more of those coming. So council's been successful, and I think what you're going to see now, I think you're going to see it accelerate. What
value, I mean, if you could put a marker value of 1 to 10, is the lake in recruiting economic development here?
I think at one time it really didn't have a lot to do in economic development because it wasn't promoted like it should have been. Now, with us promoting it, you know, if you're bringing in executives and top people like that, you know, here's Lake Hartwell. You can live here. It's probably 10 minutes from where you're building your plant in a lot of cases. So you can have that. And so, yes, we use it a great deal now. A great deal now.
And particularly international companies, quality of life is almost at the top of their list of places to consider, right?
Quality of life is always one of the #1 factors because they can go anywhere they want to in the world if they're a good quality company, the type that we recruit and attract to come to Anderson County. They can go just about anywhere, but it's hard to beat Anderson County because we're a unique situation where we've always been unique in Anderson County. We're heavily agricultural and lead the state in so many categories in agriculture, but we've also at the same time always been heavy industrial with the legacy of the cotton mills. So we just, you know, we've always been, we're big on farming, and yeah, we're big on working in factories. So it's just kind of a unique situation. And all of those jobs in the past were hard. Farming's hard. Working in those mills hard. We have a big pool of labor of people that they can come in here and offer jobs. And we still have a lot of people who'll go to work 8 hours a week at a factory, and they'll go home and farm.
And we're still, I guess, still leading the state in international investment in terms of numbers of companies.
In number of companies, yes. At this point in time, we are, and that's fixing to get even more so.
And before we leave the lake, Green Pond is not status, growing. There's another project going on over the winter. Tell me about that.
Hopefully, the long-awaited amphitheater will take place, and the dock expansion, because you know we received another $1 million grant for the dock expansion from sport fisheries. And the only reason, as I've said time and again on your show, is that you get those when they can see the value. We're putting money here, they can do a project, they complete it, it's neat, clean, and the payback in terms of people fishing and growing the fishing industry is easily to see and quantify. So, yeah.
It was a busy week. County Council had a marathon meeting that wore everybody out, but one of the things that kind of got lost in that was they finally passed the fiscal year budget. Anything that citizens are going to notice different in this year's budget?
The big thing is, there was no tax increase, and the actual budget itself is $200,000 less than the budget the year before. And it's a COVID budget if you want to look at it. So a lot of things remained the same. Some things that we had to do on some of the sheriff's buildings, we have to put a roof on those buildings. And we have to do a massive amount of work here in this building right now, the historic courthouse. Because this building, as everybody knows, has been here a long time. And we have some timbers that are in less than satisfactory state. We need to repoint the bricks on this building so they don't fall on people's heads. So we're going to be spending a great deal of money on this building, primarily structural. We're not going to ever paint it or do anything weird like that. This is stuff you won't see, but if we don't do it, this building will collapse.
And strangely enough, you're only 10 or 12 weeks away from starting the next fiscal year budget. Council's already having to look at ahead.
Absolutely, because we operated on a continuing resolution, as did the state, as the state's still doing. But now we have a budget, and we get to play this again and have it in place by July 1 of next year.
One of the other things I was going to ask you is Council declined to vote on a countywide mask mandate. Can you kind of summarize why that particular request didn't even get to a vote?
Because there was no ordinance on the agenda, so there was nothing for them to vote on. It was primarily a discussion, and it included people from ANMED and others, but there was not a place for you to vote for a mask or not vote for a mask. So that's why it didn't get a vote, because it was not on there to vote.
And the townships are the ones that are sort of left with the decision on what to do in their towns around.
The only thing the county can do is do things in the unincorporated areas of Anderson County. Each town has the right and ability to have a mask ordinance. The city of Anderson has one. Some towns don't, some do.
Also at the meeting was another thing that was just people wanting to talk about. It was the Confederate memorial statue downtown. Remind people again why the county doesn't have any authority on that.
When they worked out the deal, bargain, compromise, arrangement on removing the flag from the top of the State House, they also passed a thing saying that you cannot touch any of those monuments. And it's a state law. It's not a county law. It is a state law. And so the county can do whatever they want to, but they can't touch that monument. And it's a state law. And I don't see them changing this in this legislative session. There's nothing that's been pre-filed or introduced or anything else.
And the reason that ended up at a council is somebody wanted to put it on the agenda.
Somebody wanted to talk about it, and council believes in trying to let all members of the county have their say and talk and say what they want to. But also, there was no vote for that. That was not on the agenda. People wanted to talk. They got a chance to talk and express their views.
And there's nothing you could vote on anyway.
No. On the mask ordinance, there was nothing to vote for there. And then on the flag, there was nothing to vote for there.
Council also honored Lieutenant David Baker, head of emergency management, after a year of being eaten up by virus challenges on top of their other stuff. It's snow and ice season. Why was he chosen as the officer of the year?
because David Baker, who I teasingly refer to him as the Lieutenant General David Baker, works 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, is always on call, and not only did tremendous work marshaling the county's efforts during the COVID crisis, but before that he was also doing everything he could to keep us safe when we had storms and everything like that. He's a remarkable, dedicated individual, and he has a remarkable, dedicated group of people who work with him, and they flat work. We had a meeting last week, Mr. Dunn, Chairman of County Council, and others, with the President of Electrolux North America. The purpose of that meeting was to come thank Anderson County, David Baker, for all of the help that the county gave Electrolux during the pandemic in terms of providing supplies, knowledge, wisdom, contacts. So that man, that busy man, took time to come to Anderson to personally thank us and David Baker, because I mean David was on it every second trying to help that. So he's taking care of all of us as citizens, but he was also taking care of all of these plants and all of the churches, and every town will tell you that they lacked for nothing, they didn't lack for information, because of the work that David Baker and the emergency preparedness crew did. They're just awesome individuals.
November also brought what may have been, at least in numbers, the most economic development announcements I can remember. You want to highlight some of what's going on with economic development during the pandemic?
They're just a bunch of expansions, a bunch of new businesses coming in. Some we haven't announced the names yet at their request. We have spec buildings going up in the Powdersville area. One 300,000 square foot spec building. I met with them last week. They already have people wanting to go in there. Another one under construction right up the road from that. And it's also going to be a massive building. And they're putting those because they know people want to come to Anderson County and do business. And fortunately or unfortunately, those buildings are not being built for Amazon, because we get that question just about every day. I know y'all are building that for Amazon. It would be great if we were, but we're not. Not yet anyway.
But most of the salaries of the things that Burst Nelson talked about, the salaries were higher than you'll see at an Amazon distribution or warehouse.
Yes, much higher, much higher.
That's why the county hasn't gone after these warehouses and distribution centers as hard as...
You need some warehouses. You need them to... We don't have any warehouse space in Anderson County right now. We do not. It's at a premium. But warehouse jobs pay X, manufacturing jobs pay X plus. And those are the ones we want. But then we also have Mr. Tom Russo's building a spec building out at the Anderson County Airport, which is a wonderful thing. And that's going to be a blessing for us. If you remember, when we first got here, we didn't have any buildings to sell. So the county decided to build one, and we were fixing to build it, and then somebody bought it out from under us. Blessing. Then we bought the land up at Sandy Springs to put a spec building up there, and the fact that we were doing that and we owned the land, Arthrex came in. So the whole idea from the council at that time was to prime the pump. We don't have to build buildings anymore. We don't have to do that, because people now see if they build buildings, they're going to make a profit, and they're going to be able to build more buildings. So everything, that strategy worked to a T. And also, if you go out to the airport, really excited about that is Sergeant Metal is doubling the size of their building. So our airport for a long time looked like the Hooterville Sleepy Airport, but I think now with those two things going on and the brand new terminal, which still just a little touch-up work to do on that, I mean, it's really starting to look great.
And that airport, people who have not been out there, is used quite a bit.
It has a great deal of corporate traffic and a great deal of Clemson University traffic, and a lot of people who just fly, and we've got a lot of local people buying airplanes and putting them out there. We've increased the hangar space. We have a new airport manager who's doing a bang-up job, Mr. Brett Garrison, who is all over it, and I think everything out there is just running very smoothly right now.
What are the latest stats you've seen on unemployment in the county?
4.1 was the last month's number we had. 4.1, and I'll put that up against anybody in the United States and anybody in the Southeast and pretty much anybody in South Carolina. We're right there doing real good, and some other counties in the state are doing good too. But in a pandemic, we're at 4.1. I think that's great. And you can't ride around Anderson without seeing help wanted signs. You can't do it. And because of the pandemic, people are literally being hired remotely. And the other thing, we've had our second drive-through job fair put on by Terry Gilstrap, Lauren Cox, and Burris Nelson in our Economic Development Department, where you could literally drive in your car, never get out of your car, interview, fill out your forms, and get a job. And we had people get jobs. One company, TTI, was actually hiring on the spot.
How is COVID-19 still creating issues countywide?
Well, as you know, we still have safety protocols in all the buildings that we have. Mask required, taking temperature and things like that. Mr. Wooten is coming up with a plan to try to incentivize people to wear masks, and as opposed to saying, you're going to wear a mask, to give people incentives to wear a mask. So we're working on the details on that with Mr. Wooten, so that's where we are right now.
Any more significant outbreaks among employees?
No. I think a whole lot of us have already had it. And you know, at first you were 3 months immune. Now some things say 6 months and some say 9 months. And just this morning, another company came out with a vaccine, which they said was 90% effective, that could be available in December to critical care workers. So I'm hoping things will get back to normal, if they will ever get back to normal.
Are there any new or ongoing costs due to the virus, and how much is the state, federal government helping?
Just about every penny that we could, we've turned into the state CARES Act to get reimbursed, and which is really federal money that the state is operating on. So we've gotten through everything that we spent on COVID. No, we had to eat some of that, and that was all right. But we worked to make a place to segregate COVID patients among the homeless and did things like that. Some of the exciting things that we're doing now is, again, economic development. Terry Gilstrap, Steve Newton are working on extending our bus route, hopefully out to 81 and 85, so we can get people out to those plants out there. And then several groups in Anderson are looking to provide a ride to work, and we're hoping to be able to work that out with 2 different groups. So if you don't have a car, we'll get you a ride to work no matter where you are in the county. Hopefully that's going to come to fruition here very soon.
A lot of activities, we mentioned Christmas parades have been canceled, a lot of annual events have been delayed or canceled. Has the county been in any kind of position to help some of these organizations, ATAX money, anything that they can do to help someone?
Well, ATAX is down because of COVID, and you know ATAX money can only be used for things that promote tourism.
Right, but that's even some of those events that have been canceled.
Well, we've helped a whole bunch of groups in different ways, some with money and some with actually providing some services and not charging certain groups for use of some of our facilities to try to help them. But yes, there have been direct cash outlays by some members of council, yes.
And other projects have been delayed. Where are we at on the Courthouse Square property? It seems to have been in a holding pattern. Do you know how much longer it's going to be?
It's going to be in a holding pattern until it's done right. There's a whole lot of activity up here on North Main Street that you know about, with the new brewery coming in and restaurants in the plaza. That building next to us, the First Citizens building, is for sale. There are 2 people hotly interested in that building, and a lot of these buildings around here. So in a way, these things happening over here is going to enhance what happens back there, even if it ends up with nothing but a beautiful urban park. But again, and people are tired of me saying this, if it's not perfect, don't make a 100-year mistake.
What about the update on the sewer project with Pendleton, Clemson, Anderson County?
We're still working through that, but they had a major election in Clemson where they have a new mayor and several new council people, so we're letting them settle down before we get back into heavy negotiations on that. But we're still all for it. We're also doing several other sewer projects. We're doing one on Liberty Highway right now, which is desperately needed. We got that going. The one at exit 14, we've just about secured all the right-of-ways on that. So we're putting sewer in the ground as hard and as fast as we can go.
Any update on the Paws Dog Park?
It's under construction. Still got a ways to go, but it's still under construction.
Any other projects that are going on behind the scenes that might escape people's attention?
I'm trying to think. There's so much going on and so many things going on. Oh, we finished our Belton kayak launch, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I rode by there the other night, about 5 o'clock, and there was a father and 2 of his kids over there fishing. And we're going to continue working with the town of Belton. We want to put in a place so you can actually put in a regular boat there and increase the parking lot and maybe put in a concrete fishing pier. So that's about completed. And so we're excited about that. And hopefully we'll have a groundbreaking. We've put in for a lot of PARD money requests to the legislative delegation. And so we're
Remind me
looking
of what PARD money is.
Parks and Recreation money that is an 80-20 match. The delegation makes those awards. Other things we've done, Senator Mike Gambrill and Councilman Brett Sanders working together managed to put together $10,000 for work at the Pendleton Farmers Hall. I thought that was really neat that they both worked together on that. And Senator Gambrill was able to give a lot of money, small amounts of money, to local recreation organizations. So we've been busy doing that, and there's just a bunch of things. We've finished the pickleball courts out at the Civic Center, and everybody's going absolutely crazy about those. I believe we could build 20 more and they would be filled up. So we've got that going on.
And Dolly Cooper Park.
And Dolly
Master
Cooper
plan
Park
is finished. And
Master plan's finished. The baseball field will be in by spring. We're putting the second kayak launch over there. It's going to be awesome. The trail along the river, which if you want to go for a beautiful walk beside the Saluda River, Dolly Cooper Park's your place. So a bunch of money in this budget is going up in that direction. So we're real happy about that. Very happy about that.
next county council meeting is December 1st. Is that probably going to be the
Nope,
last
there's
one?
going to be a meeting this Friday at 12 o'clock.
Oh.
We're still meeting during the day at the Civic Center to space it out to be as safe as we can. And then there will be one on December the 1st.
Is that probably going to be the last one of the year?
Could be, but a lot of these meetings have been held when they're being held because we're trying to finish up a lot of economic development projects before the new year because of considerations and finances and taxes and everything like that. So that's why it's just a big jump right there.
I know we have a new council member coming on in January. Any other planned news for the first year people can look forward to?
There may be, we may have, I know we're going to have some really nice economic development announcements in December, so I'm looking forward to making those public. Big and substantial.
And finally, I guess council again is going to encourage people to shop local more so than ever this year. Shop local is probably the most critical time.
Shop local, shop with people you know, go to restaurants with people you know, support local, support local, support local.
Especially during the holidays.
Especially during the holidays.